Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. And at last, guys, we are almost done with Year 7, Season 3 of For Honor, and that means we've gone through all 6 of the brand new Hero Fest for this season, and all of those new executions have been released. So, that means it's time for us to check out those executions and give them a grade. That's right, guys, it's time for another Executions Graded. This is a series where I take a look at all the heroes' executions, give them a grade based on their performance, and then tally them all up to decide just how good those executions really are. We have gone through every single one of the hero's unique executions so far and given everybody a complete grade. But as the For Honor devs release Hero Fests and add a new execution to each hero, that means we have to grade those new executions and recalculate the grade. So this season, we now have 6 brand new executions to take a look at, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're not only going to grade the new execution, but we're going to factor that new grade into the overall grade and see if they go up in their score, down in their score, or stay completely the same. I'm very, very excited, guys. But before we get started, let me go ahead and give you guys a quick rundown of what's going to happen, because it's been a while since I did one of these. Here's how it works. I'll look at each warrior's execution, and I'll grade it on the scale of 4 factors. Number 1, lethality. Would the execution kill? Number 2, realism. Is it something that could be realistically done? Is it something that is possible for you to perform in the real world? Number 3, efficiency. We got to remember, guys, these For Honor warriors are fighting in a battlefield scenario, and we need to treat it as such. So, is this a good execution to use on the battlefield? Would it be quick? Would it be effective? Would it allow you to move on and get to the next person? Does it expose you too long? All of that will be taken into consideration. And then finally, cool factor. Just how freaking cool is it? That does factor in. We got to consider how cool it is. And yes, I know, cool factor is a little subjective in this case, but you know what? It's my grading formula. I enjoyed it, and we've run through all the heroes with it. So, let's not waste any more time. We're going to start off with Shugoki Pokejo. Let's go. Shugoki's new execution is Wrecking Ball. I love it. I love it. This is such a good execution. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so let's talk about this execution. So for lethality, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give this a 3 for lethality, and I'll tell you why. I don't think that the body smashing on Warden there would necessarily kill. It could, but that's an if. Honestly, what could kill here is the smacking into the head there. I think that would be what kills more than the body slam, and that has a pretty good chance of killing. Now, with blunt instruments, it's always kind of a question mark, because you got to consider how hard did it hit, where did it hit, did it cause a fracture of the skull, did it cause a concussion, what did it do? I'm going to assume that it was most likely a skull fracture, but even then, that's not a guaranteed kill. It's a likely kill, but not a guaranteed kill, so I'll give that a 3 for lethality. For realism, there is absolutely nothing about this that isn't realistic. I would definitely give that a 4 for realism. Smacking someone in the head with a kanabo and then stumbling over yourself and falling on top of them, yeah, that works. I like that. That's a 4 for realism. Now, for efficiency, I'm going to have to give this a 2. This is a 2 for efficiency. He did lose his balance and land on the Warden, and while that is funny, on a battlefield scenario, throwing yourself on the ground like that is always asking for trouble. It's a dangerous thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it, so that loses you some points in efficiency. But for cool factor, I give it a 4 for funny factor alone. This is a very funny execution. It very much fits that heavyweight boy that we like to see in Shugoki, so I really, really like this execution. So yes, guys, that is a 4 for cool factor, and an overall score of 13 out of 16, which is an 81%. Not a bad start. 81% is pretty decent. But does that make it a better overall score for Shugoki? Well, after factoring in this new score of 81, Shugoki's score goes to 73%, which is nowhere. He actually stayed exactly where he was, which isn't a bad thing, guys. I mean, at least he's staying consistent. So Shugoki's current overall score is a 73%. Not too bad. Next up is Kensei with Shunin Bukai. Had to make sure I said it right. Shunin Bukai. Ooh, that's a fast executional. Love it. Alright, so for lethality, this is a little hard to call. The move is very fast, and the blade is doing a slashing motion. The question is going to be, how deep is the penetration, and how much bleed out? Because we can't be sure of either, I'm going to give this a 3 for lethality. That's a 3 for lethality. Still really good. I'm tempted to give it a 4, but I'm going to go 3. I'm going to err on the side of caution here, because if you do not get the depth of penetration necessary, you're not going to hit anything vital, and if after that point, what you need is blood loss, and blood loss will take time to kill. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 3 just to err on the side of caution. For realism, 4. This is very realistic, very easily done. I could see this on the battlefield, in fact. This looks like a battlefield-ready execution. For efficiency, I'm going to give this a 4 as well. Incredibly fast, and she never turns her back to her opponent until he's down. Once he's down, then she moves on. Very well done. The slash was quick. She finished off to the back. Perfect. And for cool factor, 4. I think this is a solid execution. It fits Kensei. It is fast. It is effective. It is totally baller to use. I really, really like this execution. That gives this execution a 15 out of 16, which is a 94%. That is a really, really good score. And does it change Kensei's execution score? Well, it actually does. It moves her up to a 79%. That's right, Kensei mains. Your baby girl now has a 79% in executions. Almost to an 80. Let's keep pushing. Give Kensei another really good execution, and we might see her get into the 80s range. So not bad at all, Kensei. Not bad at all. Next up is Warden's execution, the Archer's Guard. I know y'all were waiting for me to talk about this one. Very nice. Alright, so, the Archer's Guard. Obviously, this is based on a real-world execution and actual HEMA-style combat. In fact, they gushed about it a little bit when the Heroes Fest came out. We're going to talk a bit about that, but first let's go into the grading. So, for lethality, would this kill? Absolutely. The sword has impaled right through the chest. Bleed out aside, that would probably puncture a heart, if not a lung. This person will die. It will be a very painful death. No question. This is a 4 for lethality. For realism, again, this is a 4. You could do this, and it is based on a real-world execution, so there's no question. This is a 4 for realism. You could do this. However, for efficiency, I'm going to give it a 0. I give no points for efficiency, and I'll explain why. The technique used, throwing the sword, while a real execution, I will never say is a battlefield efficient one for a couple reasons. Number 1, obviously, you have disarmed yourself. You have thrown your weapon away at the enemy. There are several problems with this. First, let's assume you hit your opponent. Fine. You now have lost your weapon, and if someone else attacks you while you're unarmed, you better have a backup weapon. And since this is For Honor, where most characters might have a dagger, but we're not sure, we can't know for sure. Warden is now exposed and could be killed. Now, let's assume you didn't hit your opponent. Well, your opponent may now pick up your weapon and use it against you. Not a good situation. So I do not consider this very efficient. However, that's not the only problem. Let's say that we ignore that facet completely. Look at the time it takes for Warden to go over and retrieve their sword. It is a very slow-moving walk to pick it up. There is no haste. There is no attempt to hurry up and get it. It is a very slow and very gradual walk to retrieve it. Now, some of you may be watching this and hearing me criticize this and saying to yourself, well, Raven, what about duels? This is a very common criticism I get. When I grade efficiency, I do not consider duels one-on-one fights for one reason. The world of For Honor has set itself up as a massive war, and all of these executions are usable in Dominion and Breach and Elimination and Skirmish, which are 4v4 modes. So, unless this execution is exclusive for duels, I'm going to grade it as if it's usable on the battlefield, and that is what I do for all executions. Okay? Alright. But, with that out of the way, what's cool factor? 4. This is an absolute awesome execution. I think it really is cool. I do think it's awesome that they took an inspiration from actual medieval warfare, actual real HEMA swordsmanship. I think that's really, really cool. I think this is an awesome looking execution. It just fails in terms of efficiency. I can't give it any points for efficiency because not only did you disarm yourself, you're not even hurrying to pick up your sword. Maybe if she hurried to pick it up or grab it really quickly, I might give it 1 point, but no, she didn't even hurry. That's a 0 for efficiency. So, what is the overall score? The score is 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. And does that change Warden's overall score? Unfortunately, no. Warden's score remains at an 81%. Sorry, Warden. It's a good score. You're at 81, which is good, but This execution probably could have been a bit more efficient. Probably needed to hustle a little bit to get that sword. Sorry, Brian. Brian, I don't know if Brian Dixon. I don't know if you watch my videos. Know that I think it's awesome you added this. I just wish Warden had been a little faster in retrieving their sword. That's all. But hey, who knows? I don't know if Brian watches my stuff. Let's move on. Next up is Shaolin with Wukong Leap. Nice. Okay, probably could have done this with the Wukong skin, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted to use Bao Xin for this. All right, so very nice. Very quick, too. So, for lethality, what is this? One of the problems that we have with Shaolin is that Shaolin's weapon is a bow staff, which isn't always lethal or guaranteed lethal. I want to say that this will kill, but I can't say for sure. We don't know. It's a blunt strike to the head or shoulder. In fact, we don't even know. Can we get that from a different perspective? I guess it hit the head or maybe the shoulder. I don't know. If it hit the head, that's more likely. But if it hit the back or the shoulder, it's less likely. I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to err on the side of caution and give it a 3 for lethality. For realism, though, I'm going to give it a 4. I think that this is possible. I mean, the jump is a little suspect. I think that jump is a little high. But there are some gymnasts who could probably pull that off. And Shaolin is supposed to be kind of a gymnast character. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt on that. All right, for efficiency, I give it a 3. My problem, it's one problem, but it is a problem, turned your back on your opponent before you did the jump. You turned your back on your opponent before you did the jump. I don't like that. I do not like that. That's not a good plan. You should never do that. I think it... Plus, it's assuming that Warden is going to charge right past you to hit them, so that's a little bit of a high assumption. But, hey, still, you know, that's still a 3 for efficiency. And then for cool factor... 4. I do really, really like this execution, and when used with the Sun Wukong skin, it looks even better. I gotta admit, this is a really cool, really fast, really nice execution. Kind of goofy, kind of silly. It looks like something I'd see Son Goku do in the Dragon Ball anime, but I still like it. It's pretty awesome. So that gives this execution a 14 out of 16, which is an 88%. And Shaolin mains rejoice. This brings his score up to 73% overall. That's right. Shaolin is now an overall score of 73. Got a grade of 73 on that Shaolin execution. Nice. Very good. Very good. Next is Zhan Hu with Dou's Will. Using the Bai Gujing skin for this just to show it off a little bit. Alright, Dou's Will. Pretty awesome. I actually really think this one's an awesome one. Okay, so let's start grading. For lethality, this is a 4. Not only do we have a palm strike to the face, knocking them to the ground. Well, actually, no, that was to the throat, wasn't it? And we already see blood coming out of them when the strike to the throat happens, so maybe they're puncturing the throat? I do not know. Whatever the case, they're on the ground, and then we have a slit across the neck. And you know what? I'm going to give some points here. Wouldn't it have been lame if they just took off the head here? Actually, I just realized, none of these new Hero Fest executions that I've seen so far take off the head. Yes! Thank you, Ubisoft. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yes, the head does not come off. This is just a slit across the neck, and it's still lethal. I give this a 4 for lethality. Very, very deadly. I would say that this would kill. For realism, again, I would say this is a 4. Now, you might say the flip is questionable, but I don't think it's impossible. Again, for a gymnast, it could be possible. So I will give that a 4 for realism. For efficiency, I'm going to give it a 3. Took a little bit of time to pull this off. The flip was highly unnecessary, although the flip was cool, don't get me wrong, it's freaking cool. I don't think it was entirely necessary, and so you're wasting time to do essentially what looks cool. Because once you knocked him to the ground, you could have just slit his throat right there. You didn't need to do the flip, but, I mean, again, it's cool. And then for cool factor, 4. This is such a cool execution. I've seen some people complain that it doesn't look mocapped, and here's my response to that. This is my response to that. If they can give us really cool, solid-looking executions, but they're not mocapped, I'll take them. I do not need everything to be mocapped. You are aware that lots of fighting games and older games had really cool moves and stuff that are not mocapped. I think that this doesn't necessarily need to be mocapped. But whatever the case, I love this one, and this execution gets a 15 out of 16, which is another 94%, which gives Zhan Hu's new final score an 87%, which is up from their old score. Very, very well done, Zhan Hu, and 87% is very nice. I definitely like this. Great job, Zhan Hu. Can't wait to see what else you do. And last, we have Flying Arm from Aramusha. Ah, no. Come on. Really? Really? We were so close. We were so close to doing a full Hero Fest execution season with no weird decapitations or arm removals or things like that. Okay. Fine. For lethality, I'm going to give this a 3. While this could definitely kill, if you cauterize the wound quick enough, you could probably save their life. Arm removals, while likely deadly, are not guaranteed deadly, so honestly, I'm going to give this a 3. I think it's likely he'd die. It's not 100% certain, though, so that's a 3. For realism, I'm going to give this a 2. This is very unlikely to take place, and I'll explain why. First of all, when you're cutting off a limb or a ligament, there are muscles, tendons, and bone you have to go through. To get the limb to come off that cleanly, you need a lot of forward momentum and a very sharp blade. He's got the sharp blade, no forward momentum. He's locking his blade up against the back of his arm and cutting it off. Now, you might think, well, Raven, he's got 2 blades. Well, one blade, the one going up under his arm and out the front near his chest. So I think it's the blade in his left arm. That blade is with its back to the Warden. So there are not 2 blades cutting. Only one blade is cutting. The other katana is its back to the arm. Therefore, only one blade is doing any cutting. So I'm sorry, that isn't going to help it here. I don't think that this is possible. You would not be able to take off the arm that cleanly with one simple swing in that position. Not possible. That's not going to happen. For efficiency, I'll give it a 4. This is a quick execution, and even if you do not kill this guy, he's been disarmed, so that means that he's going to have a harder time fighting now, so I'll give him that at least. At least that's going in Aramusha's favor. But then for cool factor, I give this a 2. This is pretty lame in my opinion. This is a pretty lame execution. I'm not impressed by it. It looks weird. It looks fast, but there's no coolness to it. It just feels average. Nothing special about it. I'm not a big fan. It's just not one I'm going to get. I'm not going to get this one. I hope you guys get it, because I'm not going to get it. It's not worth 7,000 steel. Just not worth it. Well, that gives this execution an 11 out of 16, which is a 69%. I am contractually obligated to say giggity. And that takes Aramusha's overall grade down from 78 to 77%. That's right, Aramusha. You are now at 77%. It's still not a bad overall grade, but you can't afford to keep going any lower, buddy. I need to see better performances from you later, alright? Alright. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the executions graded for this season. What did you guys think? Which one was your favorite? Did you enjoy my graded series? Are you liking what you saw? Do you think that I was accurate in this? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be respectful, though. And thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.